Brought to you by Penguin.
All the Blood We Share by Camilla Bruce. Read by Teri Linden, Cindy Pillar, and Michael Crouch.
Chapter 1. Kate. Labette County, Kansas. 1871. When we departed the train on that January morning, all I could see was a bleak sky stretching out in every direction. It was freezing cold, with not so much as a draft in the air. Dust coated everything around us, making it seem lifeless and dull. This was a cursed land for sure. In the bustle at the train station, I saw men with hard faces, baked and set by a scorching sun that had now sadly departed for the winter season. Several of them chewed tobacco and wore wide-brimmed hats caked with dust. They were bow-legged from riding and filthy from the barn. Their eyes reminded me of specks of glass set upon the skin of wrinkled old fruits. The women, too, looked haggard, all wrapped up like little presents in dresses of calico, their faces swallowed by voluptuous bonnets, whose strings trailed under their chins like wattles. Children's hands were clutching at their skirts. The toddlers' faces were stained with grime and snot, and their eyes were soft with pleading. The station smelled strongly of horse shit and smoke. A few scrawny stray dogs sniffed along the rails. Of course, there was no one there to help us with the trunk. We had to carry it between us through the throng. Both Ma and I were huffing and puffing. Not one single gentleman stepped in to lighten our load. I looked around for a boy eager for a coin, or someone from the railway company, but could not see any of them either. There were only those weather-worn men, chewing their tobacco, their eyes as dead and docile as those of cows. Perhaps they spent more time with such creatures than their fellow men and had taken on some of their traits. I knew longhorns from Texas were shipped north from Kansas, so that was certainly something to look forward to as well. Stray wild beasts and the occasional stampede. As if the prospect of the wolves and coyotes roaming the prairie was not horrible enough. It was a cursed land, and no one could convince me otherwise, least of all Ma, whose judgment was entirely in question at this point. We were both close to exhaustion by the time we had escaped the crowd and entered calmer seas. The hem of my new dress was caked with dust, and underneath the fabric I was drenched in perspiration despite the cold. I wondered when I would have the opportunity to bathe again. How could Ma ever believe that this would be our salvation? I had been opposed to Kansas from the start, but Ma had been adamant. It was better, she said, to lie low for a while, and what better place to disappear than out on the prairie? The landscape was vast and empty, with only lonesome travelers passing through. We could keep to ourselves there, she said, as if that were a glorious, miraculous thing. Keep to ourselves until all was forgotten, and then we could emerge again as new and fresh as lambs in spring. She did not seem to grasp the implications. I could hardly fulfill my aspirations in hiding. The foolish plan that she and her husband had cooked up did nothing but slow me down, and I was not thrilled about it. But then she always knew how to have her way, holding guilt above my head like a sharpened blade. It did not much matter that I was a woman grown, 20 years last spring. She would hold me enthralled until my debt was settled, and should I fail to satisfy, she would surely feed me to the wolves. Finally, we caught sight of them. Pa and John had opted to stay with the wagon rather than come to our aid. Not even when they saw us come around the station building with our heavy load did they move into action, but remained there, watching. William, in his black hat, leaned against the weather-beaten side of the vehicle, while John...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?